The first rule of the village was simple: never follow a voice that knows your name at night. Ion learned this rule too late. He arrived in Kothar 3 days before the moon disappeared. The bus dropped him at a broken road where the trees leaned inward like they were listening. The driver did not wait. As soon as Ion stepped down, the bus coughed, groaned, and vanished into dust. Silence rushed in immediately, thick, wet silence, the kind that presses against your ears. Kothar did not look abandoned. It looked paused. Houses stood with doors half open, as if the people inside had stepped out for a moment and never returned. Wind chimes hung without moving. A child's shoe lay in the middle of the road, filled with rainwater so dark it reflected nothing. Ion was there to document folklore. Old villages, old fears, things that survived longer than people. He had heard stories about Kothar since childhood. Stories of voices, shadows, and something that walked when no one watched. The villagers had warned him not to stay after sunset. He smiled and lied, like all outsiders do. By evening, he was given a room in the house of an old widow named Miriam. She did not smile once while showing him the room. She avoided his eyes as if eye contact might invite something else to look back. Before leaving, she paused at the door. "If you hear knocking," she said, her voice flat, "do not answer." Ion laughed softly. "Even if it's you?" She looked at him then, really looked. "Especially if it is me." Night came too quickly. The sun did not set. It died. Darkness spilled into the village like ink in water. The air turned cold and heavy, and Ion noticed something strange. There were no insects. No crickets. No frogs. Just silence and his own breathing. He set up his recorder and camera. At exactly 11:47 p.m., the first sound came. A whisper. "Ion." He froze. It came from outside the window. The voice was familiar. Too familiar. It sounded like his mother. She had died 7 years ago. "Ion, open the window. I'm cold." His hands shook. Logic screamed at him. Memory betrayed him. The voice used the same softness, the same pauses between words. He backed away from the window. The whisper grew closer. "Ion, why won't you look at me?" Something tapped the glass. Tap, tap, tap. Not knocking. Fingernails. He did not sleep that night. At dawn, he found marks on the window, long scratches, as if something had tried to crawl inside. Miriam did not ask how he slept. She saw his face and simply nodded. "You heard them," she said. "Them?" he asked. She poured tea into a cracked cup. Her hands trembled. "The borrowed ones." Ion leaned forward. "Borrowed? They borrow voices. Faces. Memories. They were the dead like clothes." His recorder sat on the table between them. "Why hasn't anyone left?" he asked. Miriam laughed bitterly. "Left? Kothar does not let go." That afternoon, Ion walked through the village. He noticed every house had symbols carved into the doors, circles with broken lines, eyes scratched out, names crossed repeatedly. Names. Every door had names. Some were scratched so deep they looked angry. One name appeared again and again. Ion. His heart pounded. That night, the knocking started. Slow. Patient. Knock. 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 It came from the main door. "Ion," Miriam's voice called. "Open the door. I forgot something." He stood frozen. The handle twisted. The knocking stopped. Silence. Then came breathing. Right outside the door. Heavy. Wet. Excited. Ion backed away until he hit the wall. From under the door, a shadow slid inward. Thin. Wrong. Moving like smoke with bones inside it. It whispered again. "Why are you hiding? You invited us." The door burst open. Miriam stood there, but her face was wrong. Her smile was too wide. Her eyes blinked sideways, like they were learning how. Her mouth opened, and another voice spoke from inside her. "Your turn." Ion ran. He didn't know where he was going. Houses blurred past him, doors slamming shut on their own. The village twisted, roads bending into unfamiliar paths. The forest swallowed him. Trees closed in. Roots grabbed at his feet. The air smelled like rot and wet hair. He tripped. When he looked up, he saw them. Dozens of figures stood between the trees. Some wore faces he recognized: villagers, children, his father, his mother. Others had no faces at all, just smooth skin stretched tight. They spoke together. "Stay." One stepped forward wearing his own face. It smiled. "You can rest now," it said. "We'll take care of things." Ion screamed. He woke up back in the room. Morning light streamed through the window. For a moment, he believed it was a dream. Then he saw his hands. They were older. His skin sagged. His nails were blackened. His reflection in the mirror showed a man decades older than he should be. On the table lay his recorder. It was still recording. From the speaker, his own voice whispered. He didn't listen. Outside, the village was quiet. A bus approached. A new visitor stepped down. Ion smiled and went to greet them. The borrowed ones were hungry again. The graveyard was never supposed to open at night, but every rule breaks eventually. Samir found the place by accident. His car died on a road that didn't exist on any map, the engine coughing like lungs filled with mud. When he stepped outside, his phone lost signal instantly, the screen flickering before going black. The air smelled old, like damp soil and rusted iron. The gate stood ahead of him, tall, black, breathing. He didn't notice it at first. Only when he got closer did he realize the iron bars were rising and falling slightly, as if the gate itself was alive. Carved into the stone arch above it were words so faded they looked scratched by fingernails. "Do not enter after the third bell." Samir laughed nervously. There was no bell, no sound, just silence thick enough to choke on. Then, ding, a soft bell rang somewhere far away. Samir froze. The gate creaked open on its own. The path inside was lined with graves packed too closely together, as if the dead had been buried in a hurry. Names were carved, scratched, rewritten. Some stones were blank. Others had dates that ended yesterday. Samir stepped inside. The gate slammed shut behind him. The bell rang again. Ding. The temperature dropped instantly. His breath turned white. Shadows stretched unnaturally long, crawling across the ground like they had their own intentions. "Hello," he called. The sound didn't echo. It was swallowed. He followed the path, heart pounding. Every step felt watched. He could feel eyes under the soil, behind the stones, inside the darkness between trees. Then he heard crying. A child. Samir's instincts screamed at him to turn back, but his feet moved forward anyway. He found a small grave, freshly dug. The soil was still loose, wet. A tiny handprint was pressed into it. The crying came from beneath the earth. "Help me," the voice sobbed. "It's dark." Samir dropped to his knees, clawing at the soil. "Hold on. I'm here." As he dug, fingers brushed his. Cold. Slippery. The crying stopped. Something grabbed his wrist. The ground exploded upward. A face burst out of the soil, bloated, pale, eyes stretched wide with terror frozen permanently into them. The mouth opened impossibly wide, jaw cracking. It screamed. Samir stumbled back, falling hard. The corpse dragged itself out, joints bending the wrong way. As it stood, the face changed. It became familiar. Too familiar. It was Samir. Same age. Same scar above the eyebrow. Same terrified eyes. "You shouldn't have come," the thing said in his voice. The bell rang a third time. Ding. The graveyard woke up. Graves began to tremble. Soil shifted. Nails scraped from inside coffins. Hundreds of whispers filled the air, overlapping, chanting names. Samir ran. The path twisted. What had been straight moments ago now curved endlessly. Tombstones leaned inward, closing the space. Hands pushed out of the ground, grabbing at his legs, his coat, his skin. "Stay," they whispered. "Lie down," they begged. "Rest." He broke free and crashed through iron doors into a building he hadn't seen before. A chapel, half collapsed, stained glass shattered. Inside, candles burned without flames, floating midair. In the center sat a woman dressed in black. She was sewing. Skin. Human skin. She looked up and smiled gently. Her eyes were stitched shut. "You're late," she said. "We were expecting you." Samir backed away. "Who are you?" "I am the keeper," she replied. "I make sure no one leaves unfinished." She gestured around. Samir saw bodies hanging from the ceiling, some upside down, some folded unnaturally, some still twitching. Their mouths moved silently, screaming without sound. "You don't belong here," he said. She tilted her head. "Everyone belongs here." Eventually, she stood. The skin dress shifted, revealing faces sewn into it. Each face was frozen in terror. Some were half familiar. One of them blinked. "You crossed after the third bell," the keeper continued. "That means you are dead." "I'm alive," Samir shouted. She smiled wider. "Not yet." She snapped her fingers. The chapel vanished. Samir found himself lying inside a coffin. It was cramped. The wood pressed against his nose. The smell of rot filled his lungs. He screamed, but dirt muffled the sound. Something shifted beside him. He wasn't alone. A hand brushed his face. Another body lay pressed against him, cold and sticky. The whisper came directly into his ear. "Move over." The coffin lid creaked open. Moonlight poured in. Samir gasped and sat up. He was standing now, outside the coffin, looking down at himself. His body lay inside, eyes wide open, mouth frozen mid-scream. The keeper stood beside him. "Choose," she said. "Return or replace." Samir shook his head. "What does that mean?" She pointed to the graveyard. "You may leave," she said, "but someone must take your place." Figures emerged from the shadows. People without faces, people wearing others' skins, people stitched wrong. They all watched him. Among them, Samir saw his sister. She smiled and waved. "You can't be real," he whispered. She stepped forward. "Come home." The gate appeared behind him. "Open. Freedom." His sister reached out her hand. "Please," she said. "I've been here so long." The bell rang softly. Samir ran. He burst through the gate, collapsing onto the road. His car sat there, engine humming like nothing had happened. The gate vanished. Morning sun rose. Samir drove away, shaking, sobbing, alive. Months passed. He stopped having nightmares. He forgot the smell of soil, forgot the bell, until one night, lying in bed, he heard sewing. Snip, pull, tighten. He looked down. Skin was being stitched across his chest. The keeper leaned over him, eyes still sewn shut. "You chose wrong," she whispered. The bell rang inside his skull, and the graveyard opened its eyes again. Everyone in the city knew the rule. If the lift stops on the 13th floor, do not step out. Armin knew the rule too. He just didn't believe it. The building was old, taller than it should have been, squeezed between two modern towers like a rotten tooth nobody bothered to pull out. No signboard, no name, just concrete stained dark by rain and time. Armin worked night shifts. He was tired, sleep-starved, angry at everything. When he entered the lift at 2:17 a.m., he barely looked at the buttons. The doors slid shut with a sound too slow, too heavy. As the lift moved up, the lights flickered. The mirror on the wall showed his reflection, but a second later than it should have. Armin frowned. "Get a grip," he muttered. The lift passed the 7th floor, then the 9th. Then it slowed. The digital screen glitched. 12, 12, 12. The number flickered and changed. 13. The lift stopped. The lights went out. For 3 full seconds, there was nothing. Then the doors opened. The hallway outside looked like the rest of the building, but wrong. The walls were damp, breathing slightly. The lights buzzed like flies trapped in glass. The carpet was soaked, squelching softly even though nothing touched it. Armin stayed inside the lift. "I'm not stupid," he said, pressing the close button repeatedly. The doors didn't move. A sound came from the hallway. Bare feet dragging. Slow. Wet. Patient. Something whispered, almost lovingly. "Armin." His stomach dropped. No one here should know his name. A figure appeared at the far end of the corridor. A woman. Her head hung low, hair covering her face. Her arms were too long, hands brushing the floor as she walked. She stopped just outside the lift. "Come out," she said. Her voice sounded like several people speaking at once. "I can help you remember." Armin slammed the emergency button. The lift screamed. The woman tilted her head. "You already forgot," she whispered. The doors closed suddenly. The lift dropped. Not down. Sideways. Armin screamed as gravity twisted. The wall stretched. The mirror cracked, but instead of breaking, it bled. The lift slammed to a stop. The doors opened again. This floor was darker and full. People stood everywhere, pressed against the walls, sitting on the floor, hanging from the ceiling like spiders. Their faces were hollow, eyes stitched shut, mouths stretched into silent screams. None of them moved, except one. A little boy stood directly in front of Armin. He looked up. "You're new," the boy said happily. Armin stumbled back. "Where am I?" The boy shrugged. Between. Between what? The boy smiled too wide. Remembering and becoming. The lights flickered, and suddenly everyone turned their heads toward Armin at once. Their stitched eyes began to bleed. A sound filled the hallway. Bones cracking, joints twisting, skin stretching. They stood. "Don't let them touch you," the boy said calmly. "If they do, you'll forget your name first." Armin ran. The hallway twisted endlessly. Doors appeared and vanished. From inside some of them came sounds. Crying, laughing, begging, choking. One door burst open. Armin saw his childhood home inside. His mother sat at the table, smiling. "Armin, come eat," she said. He hesitated. Then he saw her neck. Bent backward. Broken. Her head snapped toward him. "Why did you leave me here?" she screamed. The door slammed shut. Hands grabbed Armin from behind. Cold. Sticky. Voices poured into his ears. "You forgot us. You promised. You stayed too long." He broke free, slamming into another door. This one opened. Inside was his bedroom. His bed. And himself, sleeping peacefully. Armin stared in horror. The sleeping version opened its eyes. They were black. "You're tired," it said. "Let me handle things." It sat up. Armin felt something tear inside his chest. Memories spilled out of him. Faces, moments, feelings, ripping away like pages from a book. He screamed as he forgot his father's face, forgot his first friend, forgot why he was afraid. The hallway faded. He woke up. Morning light. Birds. His phone buzzed. For a moment, relief washed over him. Then he saw where he was. The lift stopped. The doors open. On the 13th floor, a woman stood outside, smiling. Her eyes were stitched shut. "Welcome home," she said. Armin stepped out. Behind him, the lift doors closed and went down. Inside the building, a little boy smiled. "There's room now," he whispered, and the lights flickered again.